Good evening. Hardly recognized you.
I hardly recognize it. Well, all the gray hair, is that what it is?
What happens?
No, not in particular. Good evening. Hardly recognized.
I hardly recognize it.
Okay,
Gray
we're
hair,
ready.
is that what it is?
You guys with the bald heads get a chance to hide the grays.
Yes,
Until you grow the facial hair, then it gives it away.
Yeah, it gives
Okay.
it all the way.
The captain is ready, so we'll get started. We'll call to order this special board meeting of the Board of Police Commissioners. We'll go with the roll call of commissioners. Commissioner Williams.
Here.
Commissioner Cruz.
Here.
Commissioner Farrow.
Here.
And Commissioner Roach is here. We do have a quorum. Oh, excuse me, 1 second. Tom is calling me. Do that. Hold on. Hey, Captain.
Sure.
Would you mind sending Tom the link again, please? Commissioner Lyons is having some issues with his iPhone.
Also,
Sure.
You're muted.
I was
I'm
actually,
going to log out.
talking to Commissioner Lyons.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
It's okay.
he got it. He should be logging in shortly.
Meanwhile, apparently we lost Commissioner Cruz.
Yeah, she said she's gonna try to log back in.
Okay. All right. There's Tom. And there's Anna. Okay, so we'll continue. For the record, Commissioner Lyons has joined us. And at this time, I'd ask you to please observe a moment of silence for retired Detective Jeffrey Streak, who passed away on January 24th. Thank you. Next is the acceptance of the minutes for the special board meeting, which was held on January 12th. I'll entertain a motion, provided there are no questions regarding the minutes, to combine 1C and 1D and accept both sets of minutes.
So moved.
It's been moved by Commissioner Lyons, seconded by Commissioner Cruz. All those in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Are there any opposed? Okay, both sets of minutes are accepted. We'll go to reports. As usual, we start with the Chief of Police. Evening, Chief.
Good evening. How are you guys?
Okay.
Good to see you all. Just a couple quick things I wanted to go over. Then if you have any questions for me, please feel free. Just go over our crime stats. So sadly, last week we had two homicides last Monday. One happened on William Street, one happened on Trumbull Avenue. Two young men, one 35, one in his early 20s, both shooting victims. We're making some solid leads on each case. I think in both instances, we know who the suspects are. It's just a matter of gathering enough evidence to obtain probable cause to the satisfaction of our prosecutor, Joe Cordina, so we can make arrests in those cases. So we anticipate making arrests in those. My guy said I probably shouldn't say this, but I think we're going to make them pretty soon. I'm optimistic. But overall, our crime continues to be on a downward spiral. And we continue to see decreases even as we go into the new year. We have had an uptick in our burglaries year to date a little bit. So we are addressing that. I just wanted to go over a couple things that we're doing in terms to some quality of life issues. I know we mainly focus on our part one crimes or our more serious crimes, but we have started some quality of life details. So you may notice officers out and about walking and doing other things in the coming days. We started this week. So in the coming weeks, look for those officers to be out there. So on the day shift, we're doing some walking details. On the evening shift, we're going to be doing a little bit of walking in and riding as well. And also we're going to do that going into our midnight shift. The overnight shift, the focus is going to be hotspot areas as well as like downtown with our increase in, I'm happy to report our increase in businesses downtown. So we're really focusing on providing a more visible police presence downtown in the downtown area. So look forward to seeing that out there. A couple of things I wanted to touch on. So as you guys all know, we're really pushing to civilianize as much as we can with our anticipated, or I hope we don't have as many as we can have, but possible retirements. But we already are obviously down in the number of officers that we have. So we have begun efforts to civilianize some positions, and we've gotten approval from Labor Relations, Civil Service Department, and so we're looking to civilianize several positions. So look for that coming in the future. In terms of our recruiting efforts, we graduated a class a couple of weeks ago. I noticed some of you guys were at that graduation. Sadly, there are only 5 Bridgeport officers, but we do anticipate another class starting within the next month. We had hoped that we would start in February, but it looks like it's probably gonna be sometime in March. And we think we're gonna have between 25 and 30 officers in that class. And we're gonna follow that class up shortly thereafter with another class to the point where we may even stagger. The mayor has said to us, do what you gotta do. You have the resources to put as many on as you can. So we may stagger classes. So we're really looking to do that in the coming months. We should be doing that. Other than that, our captains, as you know, are doing multiple tasks. As you see, Captain Cotto is here tonight. He's still doing the clerk's job, as well as some of our discipline, and he is the C shift captain. He's doing some really good stuff along with the other officers. If you come into the police department, you will notice that we have begun doing some painting. We bought new desks for our patrol offices. But again, I just want to emphasize, and I've said this to anybody who will listen, our building is done. It's outdated. We need a new building at some point. Maybe I won't see it during my term. None of us may see it during our time, but at least if we can begin the beginning stages of putting something in place to replace that building or find us a new location, that will really help us out tremendously. But again, as I said, we have the potential to lose a good number of officers in the coming months due to retirements. We are actively working to try and retain people by just gauging their interest in why they want to leave. And, you know, we're not going to be blackmailed into keeping people, but we are trying to actively get people to stay in the department. I wanted to touch on really quick too, this effort that the mayor and I along with mayors from Hartford, New Haven, and Waterbury are part of. We're part of this initiative along with the chief state's attorney's office and our local state's attorney's offices to introduce some common sense, what we believe to be some common sense gun laws. And we had a press conference this past Tuesday at the Capitol in Hartford. And, I'll try and get a copy of to you guys some of the recommendations that we are proposing. I can give it to Captain Cotto and he can get it to you guys. And I'm going to meet with our local legislators to try and encourage them to support this common sense, some of these common sense gun laws, things that just make sense about if someone's out on bail already for like a gun related crime or a serious crime and they get caught again, that they have to post at least 85% of their bail and not be able to use the traditional bail bondsman and get out on 10%. And also just strengthening some of the sentences for individuals who are caught with guns, who have previous convictions for serious offenses or gun-related offenses. There's also some proposals to go after ghost guns, individuals caught with ghost guns. Mm-hmm. Also, we are addressing the open carry law to try and get that changed. And also the ability for individuals to buy large quantities of guns at one time. So I'll get that to Captain Cotto and he can share with you guys. It's not law. We're hoping that it becomes law, but the mayor, myself, and the other mayors and chiefs from the other major cities have been, we've worked on this, we've had meetings, and so we introduced it at a press conference on Tuesday. The governor supports it. So we're hoping that it gains some traction and gets going. Lastly, a couple of things we are planning to do as well. So we are working with civil service to create, or we already have the job description to advertise for assistant chiefs. So we're going to be doing that in the very near future as well. But other than that, we continue to see progress in our attempts to kind of change the culture a bit to be more of a customer service model and make the department more welcoming and inviting. We are in the beginning stages also of doing I hope it takes off pretty well, a survey where we are going to survey citizens on our website where they can chime in and answer certain questions and offer some suggestions on how we can improve our relationships and improve our services that we put the delivery of our services. We're also introducing this program that we really are trying to get buy-in from our officers, where when they respond to a call to help a citizen, they'll give them a card with a QR code on it. Mm-hmm. And the citizen will be able to rate that interaction and that service that they receive from the officers. So it'll be individuals who call for police services. They'll be able to rate how our officers provided services to them. And it's not looking to be punitive or a discipline to. It's just kind of gauge us, to kind of give us a gauge on where we are and where we need to improve our delivery of services to our citizens in our community. So we're looking to do that. And also we're going to do an internal study where we're asking the officers a series of questions and also to give their input on how we can improve how we supervise them and how we police. So we're offering everyone the opportunity to have input in how we provide our services. Also remember, if you haven't already, tune in on Tuesdays at 11 o'clock for Chief Porter's Corner. This Tuesday, we will be talking about our communications center and how calls are dispatched, how calls are prioritized, and we're going to go over the whole CAS system. I'll have a guest. One of our dispatchers will be my guest this Tuesday, so tune in. If you have any questions, feel free.
I have a question. I'm going to try to get on camera once more so that I'm not behind the camera, but it's not reflecting. I'm sorry. So I have a question. Can you elaborate a little bit, Chief Porter, on the open carry law that you just mentioned?
So in Connecticut, several years ago, maybe 7-8 years ago, we passed this open carry law, and I probably have the date wrong, where individuals can now carry a gun openly. So a
Mhm.
person can walk downtown Bridgeport with a gun on their hip, and we can't do anything about it. We can't even really approach them and ask them to produce their gun permit or anything like that. And it's that law creates uncomfort amongst people, and we just don't think it's good common sense law. So we are trying to oppose that law or get it changed. I'm sorry.
Get a change where the person, let's say the civilian is required to provide at
Gun
least the
permit,
permit,
Produce
right?
a gun permit. And you can't just carry it in a open space where there's other individuals and cause
Right,
alarm to those individuals.
yeah, I totally understand. Regarding the surveys that eventually will be posted on the website, are people able to remain anonymous? I mean, are you gonna pay close attention to the survey, even if people don't want to identify themselves due to, I don't know, people, generally civilians think there's gonna be some retaliation if they are complaining and suggesting.
No, I'm pretty confident that it is an anonymous survey. You don't have to, leave your name or any identifiers. And it's, we'll get the data just to show us how we're doing in areas where we can concern. And it also they'll have a portion where they can offer suggestions to us. But no, we are not looking to make people uncomfortable by.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you. Well, it's really unfortunate about these recent shootings.
Mhm.
Is right. We live in a sad world, but I'm also optimistic about the great job that the officers just recently we have in our packet. Congratulations letters commending officers for doing such a well job regarding the mental health
Mhm.
situation. And a sergeant that they weren't able to identify. My question is, I wasn't sure if you were staying for the remaining of the meeting, but they weren't able to identify who the sergeant and the other officers were and how they handled that case.
Okay, I can work with Captain Cotto to find out who that was. I've looked at a bunch of them, so I'm not exactly sure of the one you're talking about.
Yeah.
But, we do have officers who do a lot of good work. And what we're trying to do is find ways to acknowledge them and not wait for us to do those award ceremonies that we never do. So we're trying to find ways either by sending letters to you guys or because I've gotten a lot of letters recently or emails regarding the good work that our officers do. And we just have to find a better way of acknowledging
Yeah.
and not wait
Yeah,
for.
giving them recognition sooner than later, right?
Yeah,
I
exactly.
understand.
Hey,
Well,
Chief,
thank
you talked about civilianizing, and you're going over that now. Are you able to talk about particular or specific positions or not quite yet?
No, we can. I'm not hiding it. Everyone knows what we're looking at. We're looking at like our overtime office, our chronos office, things like that to get officers. Even our fusion center, we're looking to train civilians to be able to work with some of our officers to monitor that center as well. And there's others that we're looking at. Our IT personnel, we have officers now who have to assist with maintaining computers in the cars and our body cameras and stuff like that. And those are just jobs that are probably better served by having civilians do those. So we'll always have to have some level of input, but we are looking to do those. We civilianize our permits office. So yeah, just any areas where we think it'd be better served for having civilians.
Okay. Thank you.
A couple things I forgot to mention I want to touch on, and the council person just mentioned before. I'm sorry, the commissioner mentioned about mental health. So we have finally, and it's still a work in progress. We do have someone from the health department, Denzel. He's now working out of the police department to respond to calls where that are better served by a mental health professional. And we're still working the kinks out, but we do have it in place to some degree. So I'm glad to announce that. because I know that's a big thing that will help our officers. And it's better for the citizen that they get the individual who actually knows how to handle that situation much better than we do when someone's in a mental health crisis. Also, I don't know if any of you guys got a chance to see our vigil that we had or attend the vigil that we had regarding the incident in Memphis, Tennessee. I thought it was really good. Captain Cottle was there. And it was something that we kind of just came up with. We didn't put a whole lot of thought into it. We just felt we needed to acknowledge what happened to that young man and his family down in Memphis, and also really just show what really good policing and just condemn what took place down there. And just to state that, you know, we condemn that type of policing. That's not policing. And that's not something that we teach, and it's something that we encourage, and something that we would something that would not be tolerated here either. We try to act as swiftly as we could in a situation like that, as they did in Memphis.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the chief?
No, I'm not sure if, Chief Porter, if you're staying, but I, apologize for my lateness in my acknowledgement for 2 officers. So I will be bringing that, asking if I can bring that in
Yes,
during the time.
Yes, you can. No, I was not planning to stay. I just wanted to come in and unless you need me for something. But beyond our, the monthly meetings, if you guys ever feel a need to reach out to me, feel free. You can call the office if you want to come in and meet, or you want to do a one-on-one Zoom, let me know. We could discuss whatever issues that you want to discuss.
Yeah, so Quintanilla was one of the officers that I experienced, and he was very professional, and even asking the questions regarding the, sometimes it's a touchy subject when you're asking an elderly person if they have dementia or any type, but he handled it very well in the way that he posed the question. So
You just jogged my memory. Yeah, I forward. We acknowledge that today.
Okay, yeah, my lateness, because I was trying to get it in, but my health and everything is not working with me.
No, you just jogged my memory. No, I'm familiar with that. We talked about it today,
Okay.
in order to their supervisors to acknowledge them during lineups. So thank you for that.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Awesome.
Okay, unless there's anything further, hey, Chief, as usual, thank you so much.
Okay, and Commissioner Roach, I'm going to follow up with you sometime tomorrow, because we are looking for somebody from the business community to come in and help us with some customer service training. And I thought the group that we met with might have somebody that could help us with that.
Okay, no, fair enough. I'll be available.
All righty.
Okay,
Have a good evening.
thanks again,
Bye-bye.
Chief.
Thank you.
Have a
Have a
good
great
night.
evening.
Okay. Do we have anybody from the union tonight for a report? Seeing none. Internal Affairs is a quarterly report. We heard from the captain last month. Unless he's needed for a March meeting, we'll get a report for him again in April. Moving on with the clerk's report on the status of pending matters. Looks like you got a couple of them, Captain. Floor is yours.
Yes, sir. So we got one new second step request. That's the 20I-038. And the 2 after that, 22I-128. It's one case, but it's involving 2 officers. So I call it 2 new cases, 1 Barrows and 1 second step request.
On the Barrows case, do you anticipate a long evening with that?
No, it's very simple.
It's a simple matter, so it would might make sense to schedule both at the same evening. Okay.
Yeah.
And those meetings have to take place in person, so
Yes.
might be it's a good idea to knock them both out in one night. Do we want to schedule anything, folks? Tuesdays seem to work well with everybody.
No, not me.
No,
Mm-mm.
Tuesdays are not good for you anymore.
No, they're not, at least for the next couple months.
Oh, okay, all right.
I believe Hector's not available on Thursdays for work.
Gotcha. All right. So we can pick either a Monday or a Wednesday, maybe for beginning or middle of March. Does that seem to work?
Wednesday's better for me.
A Wednesday?
but
Okay. I believe
Wednesdays doesn't work for me. but
Wednesdays, okay.
I'll work, whatever, if it works for everyone else.
Yeah, and if it works for everyone else, keep it Wednesday. Won't be available. But I think you need a yay or nay today, right?
Well, it'd be nice to schedule it today. We're not going to be getting back together anytime soon, so. The first Wednesday in March, and I'm sorry, I don't have a calendar in front of me, but
That is, yeah, that's the first.
Oh, the first is,
That's
how
the
about,
first of March on
how
Wednesday.
about Wednesday, the 8th?
Okay,
Does that make
That'll work.
sense? Okay. Captain, you want to schedule both of those for the 8th you can figure out the order on the agenda. We'll leave that up to you. Okay. Anything else on pending matters, Captain?
No, that's all I have, sir.
Okay. Don't go anywhere because moving on to new business, the first item is a request from Captain Cottle for review and approval of an update regarding the traffic accident investigation policy. Captain?
So due to our depleting staff and some things that the chief mentioned, we're looking for new ways to improve the call volume for police officers. So when I came to the second shift, I kind of observed that the officers are kind of going call to call to call, and there really isn't any quality policing going on. Officers they don't have the time to get out the cars, talk to people. There's no motor vehicle enforcement, and I started realizing that traffic accidents were actually going up. So one of my goals was to try to improve the call volume so that they could do more quality policing. And after discussing it with the chief and looking at other models that police departments have, we came up with this. And what this is the minor, absolutely minor accidents that they can go directly to their insurance companies, don't require an accident report. This is, me hitting Commissioner Williams and me saying, yeah, I did it, it's my fault. Here's my insurance information, just report it to my insurance. Doesn't need an accident investigation. So there's actually some criteria here. If you look on page 6, it says the estimated damage is less than $1,000. There are no reported injuries. The vehicle involved are not city owned or from another municipality. It isn't a public passenger vehicle. If it fits that, then they can just exchange information, and the officer is not down for 2 hours typing a report that is a no-brainer. So that's the only thing that's new in this policy. Everything else was already approved. If anybody has any questions, they can just go for it.
I had a minor question, Captain
Sure.
Otto. On the very first highlight on the first page, where you start off with the department will attempt, is that just an addition? Did you rephrase any wording? Because I had nothing to compare it to.
Yeah, it had originally said that the department will respond and investigate all traffic accidents, including serious accidents. So I took the all out, and it fits better for what we're trying to do here.
So the wording will attempt is questionable based on the type of accident. Am I correct?
Yes, absolutely. So like the accident that I talked about, the criteria there, we're not really going to investigate it. They're going to just report it right to their insurance. So I didn't want to put some language in the policy that says that we're going to be investigating this, give people the false sense of understanding that exactly what we're doing.
So when a civilian questions, that would be the reason why it wasn't investigated.
Yeah, it doesn't fall within the criteria, then we're not gonna investigate it.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
Captain Kyle, would it be, like an incident report on file?
So we have, what's called, if you look down page 5,
Okay,
and utilizing this link to the insurance exchange report. And what it is, it's a piece of paper. It just has your name, your insurance, officer that responded,
right, okay,
all the information. They both get a copy of it. Officers will have them on hand. They both get a copy of it. They can write down, as long as all the paperwork checks out and everything's fine, then the officer can just close it out and move on. Minimal time wasted there, maybe 20 minutes versus 2 hours of, drawing the diagram and writing the report. So this is a big win for the department.
It's a win, you said, for the
Yes,
department?
absolutely. Because we're going to increase the quality of life for officers, and they'll have more time to do more quality policing, such as getting out of the car and speaking to people. When, these accidents, I don't want to say they're a waste of time, but they're a waste of police time when, I'm totally accepting responsibility and saying, I hit Commissioner Williams, none of us are injured, it's a minor fender bender, there's no need to write it up, just report it right to our insurance companies.
And the insurance exchange report would work the same way as an accident report as far as the insurance companies are concerned.
Yes,
Yeah, as an attorney, I'm listening to this and it doesn't sound like it makes sense. So I'm a little confused. Because a lot of accidents, most of the accidents I have and I deal with personal injury, most of the time they walk away, they say they don't have any pain. And then after the accident,
yes.
then they're in excruciating pain
Mhm.
when all stuff starts going downhill. So I guess I'm a little confused. So are we saying you're just going to get rid of the diagrams, or like what are we talking about in terms of investigation? Like,
so if they're not reporting injury, or if they suspect that there might be some type of injury, they can demand that we write a report, and we'll write the report. We're talking about very minor damage. I mean, minor fender benders, absolutely minor accidents. Anything major where somebody might say, I'm a little iffy, but I don't want to go to the hospital. Officers write the report because they're not sure if they're injured. We're talking about like the absolute minor stuff.
But normally like 2 weeks after an accident is when you start feeling that pain.
Yes.
So how would that,
They could call us and we can come back and we can document it.
okay,
We've had accidents where, officers wrote the reports and, they were like, there is no injury. They called
Right.
back 2 weeks later and we had an addendum to the report. On this day, Miss Terry Williams is complaining of a neck injury that she may have sustained from the accident from 3 days ago. No big deal for us.
I think that was what Commissioner Farrow
Yeah.
was
So we
alluding to.
actually, we do that now.
Okay,
When they don't complain about injury, so there wouldn't be a big deal for us to do it, even if we're not writing a report at the time.
right. And how does this come? Does this conform to post standards, or is this something we decided to do in our policy to alleviate to expedite time, I guess is my question.
Oh, so this is actually a trend going around in most police departments, and we're actually one of the last ones to catch on. I actually took the language right from Milford's Police Department, which I believe Milford's a CALIA accredited police department. So, yeah, this is going on all over. New York does it. A lot of the bigger agencies are going to this.
I thought New York was a no-fault state, so.
Add on to that too.
I'm just saying.
I'm trying to determine what the discretion is and how we're defining serious, because I can only see this coming back biting us in the rear at some point, and I'm a little confused. So I don't have a lot of clarity on it, because I know I already have problems with police reports. Sometimes trying to get the police reports and officers not reporting certain things, and my experience has been that they've been resistant to change any reports or add to any reports. And so I'm a little confused, or maybe you know something that I'm missing here.
So I don't think a police officer is gonna change what they investigated and determined. But there is no problem of adding on, a new statement that just says, on February 16th, Mr. Edwin Farrell, contacted me and stated that now his neck is hurting and he believes it's a result of a car accident. He's not gonna go back and change the report stating that, 4 days ago, you told me that there was no complaint of injury. That's not gonna happen. He's not gonna change your original statement, but they can add on with an addendum of what you're reporting today.
Right, but I think if I understand you correctly, and I guess you're telling me Milford and other departments are doing this, you're no longer doing a report that shows like where the cars landed and the whole what happened in the accident. So as an attorney, when you're going into court, you don't have that anymore. You're telling me that that's gone. And somebody
So I think you're missing the estimated damage of the vehicle involved is less than $1,000. There aren't that many accidents that are less than $1,000. So right there, we're talking about extremely minimal damage. My son got a hit and run at his job, and all they did was scratch the bumper. It was $2,000 worth to take the bumper, refinish the bumper, and repaint the bumper. So we're talking about the absolute bare minimum accidents.
right. So when you say the $1,000, less than $1,000 worth of damage, like who's casing? I don't even, I mean, maybe I'm missing something here. I don't see it here, but like, I guess how is that communication getting to the officers? What I don't need is, and I don't want to see is officers just being lazy and trying to, like, there was an accident at my house a few years back. The officer never even got out of the car. He just sat there and talked to us from the car.
If you were unsatisfied with the level of policing you received, you have a right to file a complaint. I mean, I don't want police officers talking to me from a car. I think it's extremely disrespectful as a taxpaying citizen that this guy doesn't have enough respect to get out of the car to speak to me. So, if you felt a certain way, you have a right to file a complaint. But that's completely disrespectful.
So is there any way that we can put some kind of language in there that says what this discussion is about the addendum?
Well,
I'm
that's
looking,
something that they teach, whether or not we pass this policy, we do that anyway. So that's something we teach in accident investigation.
Oof.
And that's not only with accidents, that's with other calls. You could call and, like the burglary we discussed. At the time, there was nothing missing. But then they call back 4 days later and say, hey, I just noticed that, my TV's missing and my DVD player's missing. And, I was so distraught at the time of the accident that I didn't report it to you. That happens a lot. We go back and we're not going to change our original report, but we'll add an addendum based on, the new statements from today.
I think, if I may add, just to wrap my head around it, sometimes we just need a practical example. If it's a minor accident and you're saying to expedite, everything's time consuming, right? It becomes a project generating a report that right now we're considering not necessary because insurance companies are going to take care of that matter to begin with. But when an officer shows up at the scene, it is determined then that that's a minor accident, right? But that person is thinking they have to call the police and everybody will still be doing that. So when an officer shows up at the scene, that is tabulated to some degree so that if they start feeling pain 2 weeks later and the insurance company needs a report, can that be generated from what transpired initially?
Yes.
now this, I hope that this won't be, where they have some calls that they do not send the officer out and they just take the information over the phone.
Yeah, that happens.
Says that this says that we're responding because we have to still pass out the form. So there has to be a way for the citizens to get the insurance exchange form.
I'm just looking at the matter of the record accident. Is that the one?
Yes,
Okay,
so in New York, they don't even come out. They do
I
it-
know. That's why I said it.
They do it right over the phone. The chief
Mhm,
is still
mhm.
here. You know, he said that, I think his son got into an accident in New York. And, you know, when they went to call it in, they did it right over the phone. So they don't even respond to the scene. But we're responding to the scene and making sure that, you know, it falls within this criteria. And if it does, we're handing out the form.
Okay.
So it's not that you're not doing a report, you're just not doing a thorough investigation. Well, you're not doing a report either.
No. No, but there is a report of the accident that they called the police, so there is a record.
Yeah, that's what I was leading to.
With a
Yes.
call for service number that, you know, if you want to call back 3 days later or even a week later, that we can reflect back to that call for service number and the officer can write an addendum to whatever happened today, you're reporting today.
Captain, you said this type of policy is already in place, not just New York, but towns like Milford.
Yes,
To your knowledge, has there been any issues since those departments implemented this process?
no, absolutely not. Not that I know of.
And I was gonna say, 'cause that sounds like a bad answer, Captain. But so I just want to be clear. So this is in a situation where a person's accepting fault. Is that right?
Excuse me?
Is this in a situation where so let's assume it's 2 vehicles, right? There's minor damage. Someone's accepting fault, or we're not even talking about fault at all. That someone's being given a ticket. Nobody's getting, like, I'm trying to understand, like, I'm trying to put it in a practical way that if I'm prosecuting a case, right, there's certain things I'm looking for. And I've had enough people say the insurance company's not paying because they're saying my person's not at fault. So the first thing they're doing is they're looking to the police department saying, hey, who,
So
You
just
know.
to kind of back up here, we don't assign fault for motor vehicle accidents as a police department. And that's a big thing that we do not do. We don't do that today. Before this policy, we don't do this after this policy. All we would do was say who violated motor vehicle law.
right,
And
well,
9 times out of 10, the person that violated the law usually caused the accident, but there are times when someone could violate motor vehicle law and not be responsible for the accident. So we don't put responsibility at all. That's up to the insurance companies to decide who's at fault and fight that out civilly.
right. And so, yeah, okay. So we're not talking about not giving tickets and all this other stuff, because that's one of the things I was looking at, because is you're right. We look at who got what ticket. And then we look in the past, when I used to write the complaints, I always looked to the report to see, position of the car, where the person got hit, left side, right side, and so that's where I was asking that question. I'm trying to take what you're saying and apply it to my world, like what happens in court, and I'm trying to make sense of it, because I'm not being able to. I'm not able to.
I think you're getting confused with the accidents that are contested. He said, she said, conflicting stories. Well, I didn't hit him. It wasn't me. Somebody else was driving. Those accidents are getting reported, documented, because there's conflict of story. There's people arguing. Someone's demanding a report. Someone's probably claiming injury or whatever. We're talking about the no-brainers. Driving down the street, somebody opened the door, hit my car. No-brainer. That's what we're talking about. And my mirror cracked. Those no-brainer accidents that take 2 or 3 hours for a police officer to write up. Those are the ones that don't end up in litigation. They don't end up in your lap because no one's claiming injury. Both people have insurance and it's not a big deal. Those are the ones that we're trying to eliminate.
Okay. If we can move on, Commissioner Farrow, if you're not satisfied, there's always the option to table, provided that the captain doesn't deem this time sensitive. or we can vote to approve. Does
I mean,
anybody care to make a motion? Anna, you're on mute.
I make a motion to accept the traffic
There's a
policy.
motion to approve the update on the policy. Is there a second? Not hearing any seconds. Is there any other motions?
I make a motion that we table this so that we can get a better understanding and more clarity on the traffic policy.
There's a motion to table. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Motion to table has been seconded. All those in favor of tabling signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? The motion to table has passed. I'll just make a suggestion that Commissioner Farrow and Commissioner Williams, please keep in contact with Lieutenant Cotto as far as your discussions are concerned, and we can put this thing to bed at next month's meeting.
Captain.
Okay. Moving on under new business.
I have a question. So this is being tabled. Is there something you guys want to add in there or?
Well, as I just mentioned, I think both Commissioner Williams and Farrow said they required some time to review. So I don't think that there may not be a particular question at this point in time,
Okay.
but there possibly could be.
Okay.
I'll leave it with the commissioners. Okay, moving on. Next item under new business is discussion on towing. Folks may or may not know that has been a tow committee, at least in the past, which consisted of 3 members of the board. It's been dormant for several years, but there's some issues that need to be addressed according to purchasing and the city attorney's office. Therefore, we're going to, or I'm going to be asking for 2 other volunteers among the board to act as members of the board's tow committee. Is there anybody that would be willing to volunteer? Not everybody jump at once, but
Can you
When do they
see
meet?
me?
okay. Anna Cruz.
Yes.
I just have a question. Is there like a time that they meet or?
No, we would set the time. So depending on we could certainly meet after hours, but if it's possible to meet during working hours,
Okay.
it would make it I'm sure it would make it easier not only on the city attorney, but the person would be dealing with in purchasing as well.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm fine with that.
Okay. Fine with the
With
whole concept, or fine with being a member of the tow committee?
the whole concept and being a member.
Okay. Commissioner Cruz, I believe you raised your hand. Is that to signify that you would be willing to serve on that committee?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do we have one more between the 2 other gentlemen that are on, or should I try to enlist the help of Commissioner Diaz?
I thought you were already on that committee.
I am, and as of now, it's Commissioner Cruz and myself, and which means we're 1 short.
Oh, I thought Commissioner Williams was on board.
Yeah.
Yes.
Commissioner Williams says she agrees with the concept. She didn't necessarily volunteer, unless I heard that wrong. But
Yes. I said both.
oh, both. Oh, good. All right, so
Yeah, she
we're good
did.
to go. All right, it's me and the ladies. I will get back to you both when I have something from the other parties. Meanwhile, the captain sent you communication that I had received from purchasing, which contains attachments. One is the current agreement, the original ordinance, other things like what the maximum towing fees could be, and also the annual fees that tow companies need to put up. And there's also a copy of what they're doing in Hartford. So, of course, all commissioners are more than welcome to review those, but particularly Commissioner Williams and Cruz, if you can have a look at that at your convenience. We'll be a few weeks out before we're actually ready to meet. Meanwhile, anybody that's would like to take place in any discussions between the city attorney's office and in purchasing, I'll make sure you're invited for that as well. And not that attendance is mandatory. You can certainly wait until the meeting and hear what everybody has to say before you vote, but just stay tuned. Okay, moving on to old business. We have an internal affairs personnel matter. This is something that we have previously discussed in executive session, and I believe we're ready for a vote. And at this time, I'd entertain a motion that we direct Lieutenant Rosen from Internal Affairs to transfer Sergeant Klesick out of Internal Affairs, who's been there for I believe over 10 years, and that transfer would be taking place effective July 1st. Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Is there a second? Is there a second?
I think you had two people.
I'll second it.
No, you moved it, I thought. I don't know. Well,
Two people did.
just for
Commissioner
clarification
Cruz.
purposes, Commissioner Williams, are you making a motion to approve?
Yes.
Or- Okay, and one of the other commissioners, and I'm sorry, I
Commissioner
didn't
Cruz.
catch you. Commissioner Cruz seconded. All right.
I
All those in
didn't say
favor,
a
say.
word. I was
You didn't
ready for
say a
someone
word.
else, 'cause
Okay.
I'm always seconding everything.
Commissioner Lyons,
No,
Commissioner Farrell, either one of you fine gentlemen, Commissioner Lyons has seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Are there any opposed? Okay, that motion is passed. Under correspondence, we have none for this meeting. Letters of appreciation, we have one from Dr. Carolyn Na for the help that she received from Officer Antonio Molina, and also a letter of appreciation, actually in the form of an email, from Ms. Erin McAllister for help she received from officers Brian Pisanelli and Ronald Mercado. We have an item under widow's pensions, which
I would like to add my letter of appreciation for Officer. I just wrote it today and I apologize for the lateness. Quintanilla and Florin, I think it is. When it was actually my neighbor that they responded to, and I happened to be outside because I was in the process of moving and loading up my truck. And my neighbor, I saw her run out her house in a frantic, and she ran to the neighbor's car as he was leaving to go to work. And she was saying, "Help me, help me." And when I asked her what happened, she said someone had broken into her house. So when they responded to the call of, I think it was called, break-in. That's what she had said. Someone broke into her house, and Officer Quintanilla was the first to respond. And he did a very, like I said, an excellent job speaking with her. And he did a surveillance of the house. And under his observation, he also had Officer Florin come in and do the same surveillance. And when they noticed she had, and he pointed it out to me and the son who arrived later. Mrs. Allen, some may know Sybil Allen was part of the Board of Education. It was her house. And she had every safety mechanism you can think of in place. She has a basement door. She had something propped in the door. She had a broom next to the basement door. She had something on the back door. She even had plastic around her windows. And then if there wasn't anything, she had like knickknacks in front of a table and in front of a window. So if they were to come in, it almost like, the movie Home Alone. It was almost like that. So everything possible entrance that someone could have gained into her house, she had a safety mechanism in place. And he went all the way up from the basement, all the way up to, upstairs in the attic. And he pointed it out to her as well as her son. And, just to show her that none of those things were disturbed. So to make her feel comfortable in her own home. And then he even asked her if she had, let someone in the house. Or did someone come in without the key? So the way that he handled it, it was very professional, made her feel comfortable, not irate, kind of calmed her down. His demeanor was calm and everything. So I just wanted to acknowledge that, and they handled it very well. So
Very
I
good.
did submit a letter.
And that'll, I'm assuming that'll be part of the packet for our next regular board meeting. But thank you for sharing. Nonetheless, it's always good to hear some
I
of
was
the good
hoping it
stuff.
would be added on this one, but
Yeah.
Captain Cotto, you have to add it next month.
Okay, thanks again. Under widow's pension, we do have an applicant that we'll need to reconvene after we adjourn this meeting as the trustees of Plan B. Now, finally, traffic requests. Under 9A, we have a request of the city traffic engineer not to approve the installation of a handicap sign at 1524 Stratford Avenue. Reason that the city traffic engineer gives us is that there is availability of off-street parking.
That one says to approve.
Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry. I jumped the gun to Barnum Avenue. Thanks for thanks for clearing that up. Excuse me. The motion is to approve, or the request of the city traffic engineer is for us to approve the item under 9A. Is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Thank you. Is there and seconded by Commissioner Lyons. All those in favor?
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Okay. That item's been approved. Under 9B, I'm sorry, request of the city traffic engineer, and thanks again, Commissioner Williams. A request for a handicap sign to be installed at 374 Barnum Avenue. The city traffic engineer is recommending not to approve that based on the reasons I previously gave.
Yeah, so moved.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been seconded by Commissioner Farrell. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that request has been denied. We have requests for speed humps on Wells Street. Technically, it's two separate requests, but for the same street. And the city traffic engineer conducted a study, and the criteria wasn't. I'm sorry.
Sorry, that's a typo. One is for Wells and one is for Gurdon, but they're on the same.
Okay. They both say Wells, but the one on Gurdon is at the corner of Wells or near Wells.
No, he did a study for Wells Street and Gurdon Street.
Right, and in both cases, he came to the same conclusion that the rate of speed at both locations does not fit the criteria for speed humps. I believe he said the average.
Right,
The average.
25 to 28.
Yes, thank you. Entertain a motion to approve the combine and approve the request of the city traffic engineer, which is not to approve those two
So moved.
requests. It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Those two requests have been approved and actually approved to be denied. Before we move on to our Plan B business, entertain an adjournment to this meeting.
So move.
Okay, it's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Our special meeting is adjourned. The board now can reconvene